Welcome everyone. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Jabili Kandula, a remarkable individual who was recently crowned Miss New Jersey USA 2024. A proud Governor Livingston graduate and Berkeley Heights native, Jabili has an impressive background that includes being a private pilot, an aviation journalist, and a strong advocate for women in aviation. She's set to compete in the 73rd Miss USA Pageant in Los Angeles this August. We're excited to hear more about her journey, her aspirations, and her plans for the future. Welcome, Jabili, to ITV Gold Studio.
Thank you so much for having me today. I am so honored to be here and representing my community as Miss New Jersey USA at Miss USA this August, live on the CW network.
First off, congratulations on being crowned Miss New Jersey USA 2024. How did you feel when your name was announced as the winner?
I was so excited. This was actually my 5th time competing for the title, and each year I've been coming back stronger and stronger, and this year I was my best version, and I felt like this was my year. So being crowned Miss New Jersey USA just 2 weeks before my birthday was unbelievable to me.
So this seems like this was the motto for you, like a mission like you've been on for the last 5 years. Like there was never a point where you said, okay, I've had the experience, let me move on to something else. Why was this so important to you?
So there's this quote by former Miss USA, Deshauna Barber, and she says, "Giving up is a birth of regret." And every year I felt like I was doing well, and I always wanted to come back and win the crown and hopefully inspire others to do the same. And I think that if you give up too short, you're going to give up on your dreams, and people will fail you, the world might fail you, but you should never fail yourself and always go after your dreams.
You mentioned on Instagram that there has never been a Miss USA from New Jersey or of Indian descent.
Yes.
How does it feel to potentially break the barrier?
It feels absolutely amazing. Actually, in the Miss America organization, the first Indian American Miss America was Nina Davaluri, who was actually a family friend of ours from New York. And when I saw her win and be the first Indian American Miss America, I knew that it was so inspiring, and I wanted to make the same kind of impact that she did. And then when we moved to New Jersey, Chavi Verg, who's from Edison, ended up being Miss New Jersey, and she was first runner-up at Miss USA. Yet there was no Indian American to ever represent Miss USA, and I knew I wanted to continue her legacy, which is why I joined the pageantry industry.
But you're very passionate about aviation as well.
I am. So I actually went to Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and I got my Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism and Media Studies. And while I was at Rutgers, I really wanted to go after my lifelong dream of becoming a pilot. So I went to flight school on the side. I got my pilot's license when I was 20 years old.
Wow.
And
How many hours do you need for that?
So I had about 90 hours when I finished my pilot's license, and in between was the COVID-19 pandemic, so I had a lot of struggles dealing with that and time constraints, but I did it, and I had this amazing opportunity to attend the Women in Aviation International Conference as a sponsored student, and I saw how amazing these women were, and I wanted to do the same thing they were doing and have an impacting effort on other girls' journey in aviation. So when they had a job opportunity for an associate editor for Aviation for Women magazine, I knew I could bring both interests together of my writing and my aviation, and I worked for them, and I'm able to connect with all these girls who look like me and change what is the perspective in this industry, because less than 1% of pilots are women of color.
Can you share more about your background in aviation and what inspired you to pursue this field? You know, your whole life story, it seems like a fairy tale to me. Like everything just came to you, whatever you dreamt of. So how did it go?
So actually, I am a first-generation Indian American. My parents immigrated from India, so my first language was Telugu. And at home, I struggled with my reading and writing comprehension when it came to English. So I really relied on illustrated books to tell me a story that the words couldn't tell me. And one day I picked up this comic book about a woman who also didn't fit in. And instead of letting that box her, she did the unthinkable for her time. And her name was Amelia Earhart. And as you know, Amelia Earhart was the first woman to solo across the world. And to go after my dreams and see my dreams become my reality has been absolutely amazing to me. And I work for Women in Aviation International because I want to help expand the resources for women to enter this industry and give young girls the resources to succeed in all facets of aviation and aerospace.
As an aviation journalist for Aviation for Women magazine, what are some of the most impactful stories you've covered?
I would have to say one of my favorite stories has to be my first cover story, which was in the March-April issue of Aviation for Women magazine. And I actually got to interview Dr. Patty Chang Chen, who is the first woman to be the vice president of Boeing Research and Technology. And to hear about her journey moving from Taiwan to America and succeeding in such a male-dominated industry was absolutely amazing, especially when it comes to research and technology and how to be more green and efficient in this day and age.
Very interesting. Do you have any mentors for yourself in aviation or when you're competing for the pageant?
Yes, of course. When it comes to aviation, I do have to credit my boss, who has become my mentor, Kelly Murphy, who's the Director of Communications at Women in Aviation International. And she has given me every opportunity to succeed in the aviation industry because I was a fresh graduate out of college when she gave me my first job. And she has given me every opportunity to write, interview, be on newscasts, go to conferences, and meet people so that I could succeed in my career and hopefully make a change. And when it comes to the pageant world, I have to credit all my coaches who have been a part of my journey and who have helped me when it comes to stage presence and interview coaching.
Wonderful. You are currently working on your instrument rating and commercial pilot license. What are the biggest challenges you faced in this process?
I would have to say the biggest challenge when it comes to instrument rating is, well, actually, let me explain to you what an instrument rating is. So it is an advanced certification when it comes to piloting, and it's to be able to use your instruments when you cannot see anything outside during bad weather conditions, storms. So it's almost like when you're driving a car and cannot see anything outside and you can only rely on your steering wheel and what's in front of you. So the instrument rating helps me navigate throughout these conditions, IMC conditions. So the most difficult thing about it is trying to simulate with goggles, not being able to see outside and only focusing on these instruments and putting yourself into these situations of high risk scenarios and knowing that there could be a day where you're in a situation where you might feel like your life is in harm's way, but you need to always put your best foot forward and do what's in front of you because you need to always succeed in whatever you can do.
Wonderful. So you have actually had these simulations, explain how do you do that and what kind of conditions, where do you do that?
So for the most part, we have worked in simulated conditions just to see how it feels. And luckily, my instrument instructor would like to take me up in rides where there are cloudy days and some rain so that I can see what it's like to be in actual IMC conditions, just so I'm prepared for that situation. And my first IMC day was maybe a month ago, and it was fully cloudy, almost nighttime. There was some rain clouds, and you couldn't see a thing outside. And at first, it made me so nervous, and I was putting myself in this situation and knowing that everything that was in control was in my hands. But I put that into gear, and I really put my best foot forward, and I flew the plane to my best ability, and and I was able to do 2 instrument approaches, one in Pennsylvania and one back in Caldwell, New Jersey. So that was amazing to me.
How do you plan to use your Miss New Jersey USA title to promote higher education and career exploration for young girls in aviation and aerospace?
Well, I think it's amazing because I've already been working towards this goal without a title. I've been working with organizations like Women in Aviation International, the National Business Aviation Association, and I actually spoke to members of Congress about how to improve the aviation industry when it comes to workforce development, getting more women into the industry. And with this title, I'm only expanding my platform and getting a larger audience on how to improve the industry and getting more women into here by giving them the resources to succeed. And actually, this September is our 10th anniversary of Girls in Aviation Day.
Wow.
Yes, and it is a worldwide event, and last year we hosted over 250 events worldwide. Over 30,000 girls were able to celebrate, and they were able to learn about aviation and find a career for them. So I'm hoping that this September I get to go in with my crown and sash and show them that there is more to aviation than just being a pilot, just being an astronaut. You can absolutely do anything from engineering, maintenance, journalism, and anything you dream of.
Wonderful. Less than 7% of pilots are females and less than 1% are women of color. What initiatives or programs do you think are essential to increase these numbers?
Well, I think it's important that every organization, every company takes initiative to try to hire more women coming into the industry. And I think scholarships and resource programs are also very important because there's a lack of resources from a young age for girls to succeed, especially when it comes to male-dominated industries like aviation and aerospace. And Women in Aviation International has been taking that initiative for the past 35 years to bring more girls into the industry and educate them. And I'm so fortunate to say that the PAPA, Professional Asian Pilots Association, actually awarded me a scholarship this past June.
Wow.
And I was awarded by FedEx Air Express on a $5,000 scholarship to use towards my own flight training, which is absolutely amazing to see these programs because myself and other girls are working every day, and especially in such careers that can get expensive and we want to succeed, it's helpful when companies come together and help us get there.
Talk about your family. How did you tell your parents, like, this is what you want to do, and what was the response? Or did they try to have like some negotiation? No, our daughter has to be a doctor, an engineer, all those cliches we used to have once upon a time.
I think those stereotypes still exist.
Oh, they do.
My parents and my sister are all in the medical industries, and I consider myself the black sheep of the family because I wanted to do something different. And I said I wanted to stay far away from science, but I ended up being in STEM in a different way. And when I was in high school, that's when I really brought this dream to fruition, and I told my parents that I wanted to fly when I was about 16 years old. And my dad said, maybe get your driver's license, maybe take your SAT first. And I was like, okay. I did those things. And then I was like, okay, can I do it now? And then they were like, maybe get into college first. And I said, okay. And then eventually, for my 18th birthday, they did get me my first discovery flight, which was in a helicopter. And it was absolutely amazing, and it was everything I dreamed of, and I knew I just had to do it. So the following year, I did my own research. I looked up schools in the area, what I needed to do specifically to get in, and I took that research to my parents, and I said, this is what I want to do, and I need your help, or I'm going to find a way to do it. And luckily, they said, we'll help you get there. They toured schools with me, and they helped me find the perfect place to learn.
Wow. So at 16, you knew what you wanted to do in life. That's a very impressionable age, you know. You can fall into bad company or, you know, start making crazy Instagram reels. And you weren't doing any of those things.
Well, I'd like to say I still had my fun.
Okay.
I definitely tried to have different hobbies and be a jack of all trades.
Did you have a lot of friends?
I like to think I had a good amount of friends. I always thought having a social life is very important. And when I started to take flying a little bit more seriously, I knew I had to cut down on hanging out, going to parties and whatnot, because it's important to put very big things ahead of having fun sometimes.
Right.
And when you make those sacrifices, you might feel like people will ditch you, they won't hang out with you anymore, but the people who will always support you and love you will always stay no matter how much time you have to sacrifice.
True. You're an MS candidate at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, specializing in space operations. Those are such big mouthful words, you know. What is it you are doing there?
So I decided that I wanted to go back to graduate school, and I found the perfect place, which is Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which is the largest aviation aerospace school in the world. And it is located in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I'm very lucky because they do have a worldwide campus online that I can take so that I can still work on my career flying and writing. And I started about 2 months ago, and I'm taking my first class, which is airport operations.
Wow.
And I'm studying my aeronautics degree with a specialization in space operations. So I think it's very important that we understand how the industry works and how to better the industry.
Do you have a bucket list of where all would you like to fly and explore?
I want to go anywhere and everywhere, but definitely one of the most exciting places that I want to travel to is Cappadocia, Turkey. It is the hot air balloon capital of the world, and I actually saw a family friend that went there, and I saw their pictures, and they were so unbelievable, and I knew I just had to go there. So I actually dove for a story trying to find someone who lives there and who flies hot air balloons so I can understand what it's like to live there. And I got to interview someone from Royal Balloon in Turkey. And she told me a little bit about her journey, how she got into hot air ballooning. So I really want to go to Cappadocia and hopefully get to meet her and get in her hot air balloon.
How exciting. What advice would you give to young girls who aspire to enter male-dominated fields like aviation and aerospace?
Like I said before, I think it's very, very important that you never give up on yourself and never fail yourself. I think in this day and age, it's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing, and sometimes you feel like, I'm not doing as much as they're doing, and you get into this headspace of imposter syndrome that you need to be doing more or you're not doing enough. And I think it's so important that you always go after your dreams regardless of any kind of situation you're in, and the people who will support you will always support you. So always go after them, never give up on yourself.
What are you most looking forward to in the upcoming Miss USA pageant in Los Angeles?
Well, I'm so excited because I do have a Miss New Jersey Teen USA who's coming with me, and I've always wanted a little sister, so it's really exciting to have Julia Lavolsi come with me and be able to see her on stage and give her guidance throughout this year. And other than that, I'm so excited to meet the other 50 women competing for the title. Everyone is so accomplished. We have people who are in the medical field, who are lawyers, who are entrepreneurs, and to see such amazing and accomplished yet beautiful women come together is an amazing thing.
But there's only one in aviation, right?
There is only one in aviation, that is right.
Absolutely. Lastly, how do you balance your multiple roles as a pilot, journalist, student, and now a pageant queen?
It does get difficult. I will not lie about that. And actually getting ready to compete for Miss New Jersey USA the month of June, I was juggling all 5 things of being a graduate student, being a journalist, getting ready for the pageant, also getting ready for my talk with Congress, and just working for women in aviation. And I knew I didn't want to give up on any of these things because they were so important to me. So I really tried to give as much as I could on every single thing. And sometimes you do have to take a little bit off your plate. And it's not necessarily giving up something, it's just to make space for something else. And that's okay.
Talk about the question you were asked at the pageant, which won you the deal.
Yes. So I actually want to talk about two questions, if that's
Absolutely.
okay. So the question that I asked on stage, my final question was, what does a modern woman mean to you? And I said that a modern woman to me is someone who goes after anything that they dream of. And then I talked a little bit about what I went after my dreams, which was going into aviation with a lack of knowledge from my family background and the aviation industry, and how I'm working towards changing the mindset of young girls from saying I want to I can and I will. So that was my winning answer.
Wow.
And the other question that I wanted to talk about was in my interview, I was asked, because I was 20 years old when I got my wings, how did I deal with fearlessness? And I said that when you're at a young age, it's so much easier to be fearless and do anything, right?
True.
You can jump off a cliff and break many bones, you're still like, oh, it's fine. But as you get older, you realize there's consequences to actions.
Right.
And as I got older, now 4 years down the line since I started flying, I realized that there could be a day where I'm in an emergency situation where I am in harm's way, and that could be my last possible day. But what motivates me to keep going is that all these girls that tell me that I'm doing this because of you, and I know that I need to keep going and going because I'm making more room for girls like me.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jabili, for sharing your incredible journey and inspiring us with your passion and dedication. We wish you the best of luck in the upcoming Miss USA pageant. We'll be cheering for you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.